You're no longer fighting battles that drain you. You're choosing what feeds you instead. That shift in energy changes everything. It shifts the power from them to you. The truth is, not everyone deserves to see your emotions. Some people only want a reaction so they can feel powerful. Don't give it to them. Keep your power close. Guard it with silence. Let your growth be your revenge, your peace be your answer, and your stillness be your strength. Because when you no longer let people pull you into their storms, you become the storm. Steady, silent, and unstoppable. And in that stillness, in that restraint, you rise. Not through noise, but through quiet power. Not through reaction, but through resilience. That's how you take back control and never lose it again. They expect you to cry. They expect you to beg. They expect you to fall apart in front of them just to feed their sense of control. That's how they measure their power, not by how strong they are, but by how weak they can make you feel. And the truth is, the moment you stop giving them that reaction, the moment you become unreadable, everything changes. The game flips. Mystery becomes your weapon. They expect noise. Give them nothing. Let silence be your sharpest tool. Let your stillness be the storm they never saw coming. Most people are addicted to the attention their behavior gets. They'll push buttons, poke wounds, and stir chaos just to see you explode. But when you stop giving them that satisfaction, they lose their grip. When you stop justifying, explaining, or defending, the narrative begins to crumble. At least, they justifying, explaining, or defending, the narrative begins to crumble. They depend on it. They generally give in. They stop fighting, giving in to the unknown. They stop fighting back. They stop fighting for what they want. You become untouchable, not because you're heartless, but because you've outgrown the need to prove yourself. You don't rise to every challenge. You don't answer every insult. And that restraint confuses them. They can't figure out what's happening. And that confusion becomes your edge. Mystery is a form of power most people underestimate. There's a certain elegance in being unreadable, in being the kind of person who doesn't react the way they expect. When you stop giving people access to your emotions, you force them to confront their own. You hold up a mirror to their manipulation and let them sit in the silence they created. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them sit with the weight of your absence. Because the truth is, they never prepared for that. They were only ever prepared for a show. Being mysterious doesn't mean being fake. It means being intentional with your energy. It means choosing not to explain yourself to people who've already made up their minds. It means keeping some parts of you sacred, hidden, and out of reach from those who wouldn't treat them with care. Not every emotion deserves to be shared. Not every pain deserves to be performed. When you hold yourself with quiet confidence, you become harder to manipulate. And when you're harder to manipulate, you're harder to break. That's what scares them. That's what confuses them. The loudest thing you can sometimes say is nothing. It's the unanswered text. The look that says everything and nothing at once. The exit without an explanation. The decision to walk away without slamming the door. These are the moments that haunt people, not the screaming or the crying. Silence lingers. Silence stays. It echoes longer than any argument. Because in silence, there's space. For guilt, for reflection, for regret. And people will always try to fill that silence, but they never can. Because they're chasing something they no longer have, your response. They will tell themselves stories about why you went quiet. They'll try to paint you as cold or cruel just to soothe their ego. Let them. Let them craft 100 reasons. You owe no one the truth who couldn't handle it when you were open. You were once transparent and it got you hurt. Now you've learned. Some things are better left unsaid. You don't need to justify your silence. It speaks clearly on its own. And for those who can't understand it, maybe they were never meant to. Some people need to feel your absence to value your presence. The moment you stop explaining yourself is the moment you reclaim your peace. Because over-explaining is just a disguised plea to be understood. And not everyone is listening with the intent to understand. Some just listen to respond, to twist, to control. Walking away from that isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Silence draws a line they can't cross. It says, this is where I end, and you don't get to enter anymore. That quiet boundary is stronger than any wall built with words. You don't scream it, you live it. And living it is what confuses them most. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding the cycle. You break the loop. The one where they provoke and you respond and they feel powerful again. No response, no fuel. And suddenly they have nothing to feed off. They're left with their own reflection and your silence staring back at them. That's when the panic sets in. That's when they start trying to guess what you're thinking, where you went, and why they no longer have access to you. It's not revenge. It's a reset. And in that reset, you rise while they remain stuck. Confusion is not the goal, but it's often the result when you choose growth. When you stop dancing to the tune they used to play, it shocks them. When you stop crying in places that caused your tears, it unsettles them. When you become calm in the face of their chaos, they realize they've lost control. And that realization hurts more than anything you could have said. You've become a mystery in a world that expected a meltdown. That mystery becomes your power, your armor, your liberation. It isn't silence out of fear, it's silence out of strength. Let them wonder. Let them sit in the silence you leave behind. Because confusion is not your burden, it's theirs to carry. You've spoken enough, cried enough, explained enough. Now you move in silence, and they feel the shift. And in that shift, you become unforgettable. Not for what you said, but for what you refused to say. You confuse them, not with cruelty, but with clarity. Not with revenge, but with peace. And the most powerful thing of all, you never had to raise your voice to do it. Healing doesn't always look like what people expect. Sometimes it looks like silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally understand that your peace matters more than being heard. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about protecting your space. When someone has caused you pain, they often want to witness the aftermath. They want to feel significant by seeing the destruction they've caused. But when you choose to heal privately, away from their gaze, you take that significance away. You no longer let them write your story. Your silence becomes your sanctuary. And in that sanctuary, you begin to rebuild. True healing starts when you stop responding to the things that once tore you apart. It begins when you no longer feel the urge to explain your worth, your decisions, or your boundaries. It's in the quiet moments, the ones where you sit with your pain, feel it, and then choose to let it go. There is a quiet revolution in every choice to walk away without a word, to grow without an audience, to evolve without permission. You don't need to announce your healing to anyone. You don't need to post your progress or prove your strength. Healing is yours. It's sacred. And it happens best in stillness. There's something deeply powerful about choosing silence over revenge. About not reacting when every part of you wants to scream. That choice is a declaration that you no longer want to be tethered to the energy that broke you. You're no longer looking back. You're not waiting for an apology. You're done replaying the past in your mind. Instead, you're moving forward quietly, deliberately, and with grace. That's what real healing looks like. Not loud victories or public declarations, but silent growth. Growth that confuses those who expected to see you broken. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your recovery. Some people only want to be close so they can measure how much damage they've done. That's why healing in silence is so powerful. You close the door gently and you lock it. You don't seek closure from those who caused the wound. You give it to yourself. You stop performing your pain for the people who enjoyed watching it. Your healing no longer needs an audience. It needs quiet. It needs boundaries. It needs time. And above all, it needs the absence of those who never deserved a place in your heart. Silence isn't emptiness. It's space. Space for clarity, for reflection, for growth. It's where you begin to hear yourself again. Not the noise of other people's opinions, but your own truth. The voice that got drowned out when you were busy trying to be understood, accepted, or loved by people who didn't really see you. In silence, you remember who you are. You remember what you value. And you begin to rebuild from there. Stronger, wiser, quieter. Healing in silence doesn't mean you're hiding. It means you're honoring the depth of your own journey. When you heal quietly, you stop seeking validation. You stop needing others to say you're doing okay, because you know you are. You feel it in the way your breath gets steadier, in how your thoughts become kinder, in how you begin to smile without forcing it. That's healing. Not perfection, but progress. And it doesn't need applause. It doesn't need recognition. It just needs commitment. A commitment to yourself, to your growth, to your peace. And that commitment is far more powerful than any performance of strength. People might mistake your silence for weakness. Let them. Let them think what they want. Because while they're watching for signs of your breakdown, you're quietly rising. You're learning to live without their approval. You're reclaiming your energy. You're cutting the cords they once pulled so easily. And the best part? They don't even see it coming. Because your transformation doesn't come with announcements. It comes with stillness. And that stillness shakes the ground beneath them more than any scream ever could. Healing is not linear. And it's rarely loud. It's messy, subtle, and often invisible to the outside world. There will be days you feel strong, and days you don't. But through it all, your silence holds you. It becomes the space where your soul can breathe. There's only silence. There's only stillness. And there's only depth. Through it all, your silence holds you. It becomes the space where your soul can breathe, where your heart can beat without pressure, where your mind can slow down and just be. And slowly you begin to rise. Not all at once, but steadily. Not for them, but for you. Because you deserve a life that feels like peace, not survival. And that kind of life is born in silence. The beauty of healing silently is that it confuses those who broke you. They expect drama, chaos, and visible scars. But when you offer them nothing, no explanation, no breakdown, they're left with their own guilt. They're left wondering. And in that wondering, they begin to feel the absence of your energy. It's not revenge. It's not cruelty. It's self-respect. You don't return to what hurt you. You don't revisit closed doors. You heal quietly, and you let your growth speak for itself. Eventually, it will. And those who need to see it will. Let your silence be your proof. You don't need to tell the world you're healing. Just show up differently. Softer, but stronger. Quieter, but more powerful. Let your actions reflect the peace you've found. Let your energy shift without warning. And when people notice the change, let them wonder how you got there. You owe no one the map to your healing. It was never meant to be followed by others. It was meant to guide you back to yourself. And in that return, in that quiet journey inward, you find everything they tried to take from you restored, whole, untouchable.